Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're really getting into something that I think hits home for a lot of language learners out there. It's this frustration. You've put in the hours, maybe hundreds, maybe thousands, watching English movies, listening to music, reading books. You get it. You can follow along 95% maybe, without subtitles even.
Right, the comprehension is there. You understand complex stuff, news articles, deep conversations.
Exactly. But then the moment comes. Someone asks you a question, or you need to jump into the chat.
And boo! Nothing. Or it feels like wading through treacle.
Yeah, your mouth just feels stuck, locked up.
That's the moment, isn't it? The switch from passive understanding to active speaking. And the research we've looked at, it really zeroes in on why this happens.
And it's not about being smart enough, right? Or even necessarily about not knowing enough words.
Not usually, no. It's fascinating, actually. The way learners describe it is so consistent. They say their mouth feels stuck, like you said, or slow.
Yeah.
Sometimes they even say it feels shy.
Okay, shy. That's interesting. Let's dig into that straight away because understanding that feeling, that block, is kind of the whole point of this deep dive, isn't it?
It really is. We spend so much time focused on input, right? Flashcards, grammar rules, listening, reading, constantly pouring information in.
Yeah, filling in the tank.
Exactly. But what the sources we analyze are saying is that real fluency, that smooth, effortless speaking, needs something else. It needs, well, two kinds of training.
Two kinds.
Yeah. First, you got to train the mouth. Like, literally treat it like a muscle group that needs a workout. Physical reps.
Okay, the mouth is a muscle.
And second, you have to train the mind. You need to sort of rewire it to stop translating everything from your native language first. That translation step is just, it's too slow.
Right. That makes sense. So mouth training and mind training.
That distinction is absolutely key. One of the sources used a really great analogy. Think about learning to drive. You can read the car manual cover to cover. You know all the rules of the road. You understand how the engine works, theoretically, when to signal, speed limits, all that. It's all in your head.
Got the theory down, Pat.
But can you drive? Not until you actually sit in the car, feel the pedals, practice easing the clutch, shifting the gears. Your muscles have to learn those specific, subtle movements.
Yeah, you can't just think your way into driving smoothly.
Exactly. And your mouth, for speaking English, it's like that manual transmission. It knows the theory, maybe, but it hasn't had the practice shifting gears for English sounds and rhythms. It needs that physical, embodied practice. That's where we have to start.
Okay, let's stay with that physical idea for a bit. The mouth needing practice. Because when you do understand a lot, but you can't speak well, it's easy to feel, well, inadequate, like you're just not cut out for it.
Oh, totally. You blame yourself. I must be stupid, or I just don't have the language gene. But the research really flips that. It says, look, this isn't about your brain power.
That's got to be a relief to hear for a lot of people.
It really is. It reframes the whole thing. We're not talking about some kind of intellectual failing. We're talking about a physical thing, almost physiological. It's a lack of specific muscle memory.
Muscle memory for speaking.
Yeah. Think about it. Your mouth, your tongue, your lips, they're already incredibly well-trained athletes. But they're trained for your native language. They know exactly how to make those sounds, those rhythms, the subtle positions.
They're specialists.
Precisely. Highly specialized. Now, you try to switch to English. Maybe your language doesn't have, say, the sound. That requires a very specific tongue position between the teeth.
Right, that's a classic one. Or the English R sound can be tricky, too.
Exactly. Or maybe the vowel sounds are really different. English has a lot of kind of lazy or relaxed vowel sounds compared to some languages with very pure vowels. When your mouth muscles are asked to suddenly make these totally new shapes, these new movements.
They resist, feel awkward.
Yeah, they feel stiff, they're slow. They might tense up because they literally haven't done that particular exercise before. They lack the coordination for those specific English lifts, if you like.
Which leads us nicely to this idea of the mouth gym. I like that phrase. It's practical.
It is, isn't it? It takes it out of the abstract learning realm and puts it into the physical. If you want stronger biceps, you don't just read about weightlifting.
No, you got to lift the weights. Do the reps.
Same thing here. If you want your mouth to produce English sounds easily and flowingly, you have to give it the reps. You need to physically make the sounds, move the muscles again and again. You can't just think about the pronunciation.
So that feeling of it being weird or difficult at first, that's actually okay.
It's more than okay. It's probably a good sign. It's like, delayed onset muscle soreness after you work out. It means you're actually working those speech muscles, challenging them in a new way.
Oh, okay. DOMS for your tongue.
Sort of. And like any physical training, the research hammers this home. Consistency is everything. You can't just have one massive, like, 8-hour speaking marathon and expect miracles.
Right, like you can't go to the actual gym once a month for 5 hours and expect to get ripped.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Doesn't work like that. Muscles need regular stimulation to adapt and build memory, especially these fine motor skills involved in speech. It has to be frequent.
Short bursts, but often.
That seems to be the most effective way. Regular, maybe even daily short practice sessions. It signals to your brain, hey, these new movements, these sound patterns, they're important. Prioritize learning them.
And then over time.
Over time, what started as conscious, difficult effort becomes more automatic. Subconscious. That's muscle memory taking over. Speaking English starts feeling less like solving a complex equation and more like, well, just speaking. A physical skill you've mastered.
Okay, so if we need to hit the mouth, Jim, what's the first exercise? What's the linguistic equivalent of lifting weights? The sources seem pretty unified on this.
Yeah, overwhelmingly, the recommendation is shadowing.
Shadowing. Explain that. What does it actually involve?
Okay, so shadowing is basically like being an echo, but a really, really close echo. You pick some audio or video, maybe a podcast clip, a bit of a movie, a news report.
Something with a clear speaker.
Right. And you play it. And as the person speaks, you speak with them, or maybe just a fraction of a second behind them. You're trying to copy exactly what they say, how they say it, almost in real time.
So not listening to a whole sentence, pausing, then repeating.
No, that's imitation, which is also useful, but shadowing is more immediate. You're tracking them live. It forces you out of that passive listening mode and straight into production. There's no time to stop and translate in your head.
Okay, got it. And the sources emphasized this isn't just about getting the words right, is it? It's more holistic.
Absolutely. That's where the real power lies. If you only copy the words, you miss like half the picture. True shadowing means mimicking the whole package. You need to copy.
Okay, what are the elements?
1, obviously pronunciation, the individual sounds. 2, the rhythm, the beat, the flow, how fast or slow they talk, where they pause.
The music of the language.
Kind of, yeah. Which leads to 3, intonation. That's the melody, the ups and downs in pitch that signal questions, excitement, boredom, whatever.
Okay, pronunciation, rhythm, intonation. What's the fourth?
This one's often missed, but might be the most important. The feeling or the emotion. If the speaker sounds excited, you need to sound excited. If they sound serious, you sound serious.
Yeah, so you're basically becoming an actor, mimicking their entire delivery.
You got it. You're an emotional echo, too.
Yeah.
And doing that, copying the feeling, it does something really important. It connects the English sounds not just to meanings, but to emotional states.
Which probably makes it easier to recall and use naturally later on, right? And you actually feel that emotion.
Exactly. If you've practiced sounding enthusiastic in English while shadowing, when you genuinely feel enthusiastic later, the pathway for expressing that in English is already kind of greased. It's more automatic.
Okay, but here's a potential problem. The sources mention this don't stop rule. Keep going even if you don't understand or you make mistakes. Won't that just make you practice mistakes? Like cementing bad habits?
That's a really good question. And yeah, the material addresses that. It depends on the goal at different stages. For a beginner doing shadowing, the main goal of Don't Stop is physical. It's about getting the mouth moving, getting used to the flow and rhythm of English speech, breaking that initial stiffness.
So fluency over accuracy, initially.
Kind of, yeah. At that very first stage, minor pronunciation slips are less important than just keeping the engine running, getting the muscles warmed up and used to the pace. You're building stamina.
Okay, but you can't just practice mistakes forever.
No, absolutely not. Once you get past that initial, maybe week-long phase of just getting comfortable, the advice shifts. You still shadow for flow, but then you introduce cycles of correction.
How does that work?
You might do a shadowing run, maybe for a minute or two. Then you stop, maybe record yourself, listen back, identify 1 or 2 specific things, a tricky sound, a rhythm pattern you messed up. Then you focus just on that little bit. Shadow that 1 sentence 5 times, really trying to nail it.
So alternating between just going with the flow and then zooming in on problem spots.
Exactly. Flow training, then precision training. Back and forth.
And what kind of material should people use? Anything works.
Well, you want something that's slightly below your comprehension level, ideally, so you're not constantly stumbling over unknown words. But crucially, pick speakers whose accent and speed you actually want to emulate.
Right, makes sense. If you want to sound professional, shadow a news anchor, maybe. If you want casual chat, maybe a YouTuber.
Precisely, and keep it short. Little segments, maybe 30 seconds to 2 minutes, are perfect for really intense focus and repetition.
And the beauty is it's doing two things at once, right? You have to listen incredibly carefully to catch all those nuances.
Super careful listening.
And you're speaking out loud at the same time. It's like a pressure cooker for language skills.
That's a great way to put it, a linguistic pressure cooker.
Okay, shadowing sounds intense, probably effective, but maybe tiring if you do it for too long.
It can be, yeah. Which is why you need other tools in the toolbox, especially for consistency. That leads us to the second technique, using daily simple phrases as a kind of warm-up.
Right. The material called this a game changer, which sounds like a big claim for just saying things like good morning or let's go. Why are these simple phrases supposedly so powerful?
Because they tackle that initial hurdle, that stuck feeling head on. Think of it like turning the key in the ignition. When you need to suddenly speak complex English, your mouth is cold.
Right.
But if you start your day, maybe just while making coffee, by physically saying a few simple common phrases, I'm ready, I can do it, thank you, good morning, you're priming the pump.
Like stretching before exercise.
Exactly. You're warming up those speech muscles, and you're also sending a little signal to your brain. Okay, English mode is on. It just makes that initial transition into speaking a bit smoother.
So it kind of challenges the idea that you always need to be practicing complex sentences to improve.
Totally. Complexity comes later. First, you just need activation. These simple phrases help build reflexes. You shouldn't have to think about how to say good morning. It needs to be automatic, a reflex. Repeating them helps build that automaticity.
And there was a specific tip about how to say them. Something about feeling.
Yes. This is critical. Don't just mumble them like a robot. Say them with feeling. If you say, I'm ready, try to actually feel ready. Put a smile on your face, use an energetic tone.
As opposed to a tired, dragging, I'm ready.
Right. Because when you link the physical sensation of the emotion, enthusiasm, determination, gratitude to the sound pattern of the English phrase, it anchors it much more deeply in your brain.
Like how you instantly know the melody and feeling of a song you love.
Precisely. You don't analyze the grammar of the song lyrics. You just sing them with the right rhythm and emotion because they're linked. These simple phrases, said with feeling, become like tiny emotional anchors in English.
Okay, so we have intense shadowing and daily simple phrase warm-ups. What's technique 3? This is the one people might feel a bit silly doing.
Yes. Talking to yourself out loud in English.
The internal monologue goes external.
Exactly. And the key here is creating what the sources call your safe English zone. Usually this is your home, your car, somewhere you're alone.
Why is that safe aspect so important?
Because the biggest killer of speaking practice is fear. Fear of making mistakes, fear of sounding stupid, fear of being corrected, fear of getting weird looks from strangers if you're muttering in English at the supermarket.
Yeah, that self-consciousness is powerful.
But when you're alone, all that disappears. You have total freedom to experiment, to make mistakes, to sound awkward, and that freedom is incredibly important for learning.
Okay, so I'm in my safe zone, maybe my kitchen. What should I be talking about? The meaning of life.
Probably not at first. Keep it immediate, concrete. Narrate what you're doing or seeing. It's called action-based practice. You're basically being the commentator for your own life.
Give me some really practical examples, like what would I actually say?
Okay, you're getting dressed. I'm putting on my shirt. It's blue. Now I need socks. Where are my socks? Or making breakfast. Okay, cracking 2 eggs. Need some salt. The pan is hot now. Or just looking around. This plant needs water. The window is dirty. I should clean it later.
So very simple, descriptive stuff tied to the present moment.
Yeah, or maybe planning slightly ahead. Right, after breakfast, I need to check my emails. Then I have that meeting at 10. The point isn't grammatical perfection or fancy vocabulary.
What is the point then?
The immediate goal, as one source put it, is just to make noise in English. Get your mouth moving, producing English sounds continuously. It gets the muscles working, and it also reinforces the vocabulary you do know by linking it directly to the real things and actions around you.
Instead of linking it back to a word in your native language.
Exactly. You're building direct connections in your environment. And the more you do it, even for a few minutes here and there, the more natural it starts to feel. You're just getting used to the sound of English coming out of your own mouth.
Okay, we've given the mouth a serious workout plan. Shadowing, warm-ups, talking to ourselves. But you said there were 2 parts. We need to train the mind too.
Right. Because even if your mouth muscles get stronger, if your brain is still doing this slow, cumbersome translation process for every single thought, you're still going to sound hesitant.
That translation bottleneck. Thinking in language 1, figuring out the English words, arranging the grammar, then speaking.
Yeah, each step adds milliseconds of delay. And those milliseconds add up. It makes you sound slow, makes you feel slow. Even if you actually know what you want to say, it's incredibly frustrating.
So the goal is to, what? Think directly in English.
Exactly. We need to cut out the middleman, stop the translation detour. We need to encourage your brain to process thoughts directly in English.
That sounds hard. Like, really hard. How do you even start doing that? You can't just flip a switch in your brain, can you?
No, definitely not a switch. It has to be gradual. Like the mouth gym, you need a mind warm-up. You can't suddenly start trying to, I don't know, debate philosophy in your head in English if you're not used to it.
So baby steps for the brain, too. What's step one?
Step one is single word association. Really simple. As you go about your day, when you see an object or feel something or notice something, consciously think the English word for it. Instantly.
So I see my keys. I think keys, not the word for keys in my language.
Precisely. You feel thirsty. The immediate thought is thirsty or water. You hear a dog bark, dog. You're just constantly labeling your reality with English words, directly linking the concept or object to the English term.
Yeah.
No translation allowed.
It's like turning the world into interactive flashcards in your head.
That's a great way to think about it. And it's purely mental. No speaking needed for this step, just constant low-level mental reps.
Okay, once that starts feeling a bit more natural, what's next?
Step two is simple phrases and internal commentary. You upgrade from single words to short, functional phrases or sentences, still tied to your immediate reality or needs. Instead of just thinking hungry, you think the short sentence, I am hungry, or I need to eat soon.
So describing your state or immediate intentions.
Yeah. Or commenting on observations. Instead of just rain, you might think, oh, it's starting to rain. Or, the traffic looks bad today. You're using those simple phrases we talked about for the mouth warm-up, but now purely internally, building slightly more complex thoughts.
Okay, makes sense. Single words, then simple sentences internally. What's the final stage?
Step three is where it gets more complex. Internal narration and even argumentation. Now you try to process more abstract thoughts entirely in English, inside your head. Maybe summarize an article you just read in English to yourself.
Or plan your day in more detail.
Yeah, outlining steps. First, I'll finish this report, then I need to call Sarah. After that, I can go for a run. Or even if you're feeling annoyed about something, try to articulate why you're annoyed internally, using English words and sentences.
So you're really starting to use English as the main operating system for your thoughts, not just a program you run occasionally.
That's the goal. You're trying to make English the default language for your internal world, at least for certain periods or tasks.
And the payoff for doing this mental gymnastics.
It's huge for fluency. The sources described it as creating a superhighway for your thoughts.
A superhighway, I like that.
Yeah, because when you think directly in English, the thought doesn't have to take that slow, winding back road of translating from language one. It jumps straight onto the English superhighway and goes directly from your brain to your mouth.
Cutting out all that delay.
Exactly. The processing speed increases dramatically. Speech becomes faster, smoother, less hesitant, because your mind is supplying the English words and structures almost instantly, not after a translation lag.
But what happens when you try this and you just hit a wall? You're thinking in English and you just can't find the word you need. You get stuck internally.
That will happen, guaranteed. And the key is not to panic or give up. Don't switch back to your native language immediately if you can help it.
What should you do then?
Try to think around the word. Can you describe it using other English words you do know?
Hmm?
Or just acknowledge the gap, make a mental note to look it up later, and continue the thought process in English with the words you have.
So perfection isn't the goal here either. It's about the effort.
Absolutely. It's about persistence and just trying. Every time you force your brain to operate in English, even imperfectly, you're strengthening that pathway. You're telling your brain, this English route is important, let's make it faster. It gradually adapts and gets better at finding the words and structures you need. Okay, so we've got the mouth exercises, the mental training. But how do we make it all stick? This brings us to the environment and, crucially, consistency.
Right, because you can have the best techniques, but if you only use them once a week.
Exactly. Progress will be slow or non-existent. The research really emphasizes that English shouldn't just be a subject you study for an hour on Tuesday nights. It needs to become part of your life, something you live.
That sounds great if you live in an English-speaking country. But what about people learning from, say, their home in Brazil or Japan? How do you live English there?
You have to consciously create your own immersion environment. It's about weaving English into the fabric of your daily routine. using the time and tools you already have.
Like finding those little pockets of time.
Yeah. Think about all the dead time, waiting for a bus, standing in line, your commute. Use language learning apps then, even for just 5 or 10 minutes. Duolingo, memorize, whatever works for you, short bursts.
What about media?
Big one. Start shifting your consumption. Watch short YouTube videos in English. Maybe start with cartoons or news aimed at learners if you need to. Use English subtitles first, then try without.
Music, podcasts.
Definitely. Listen to English songs, try to catch the lyrics, listen to podcasts on topics you enjoy, maybe even this one. The more English audio input you get, the more your ear gets tuned.
And changing your surroundings, like literally.
Yeah, simple things. Change the language setting on your phone to English. Same for your computer, your social media apps. Start reading news headlines or short articles from English language websites.
It's about making English the default, unavoidable thing around you.
Exactly. And find fun ways. One source specifically mentioned looking at English memes.
Memes, seriously.
Yeah, they're short, they use current slang and expressions, they often rely on cultural context. You learn vocabulary and idioms without feeling like you're studying. It makes it less of a chore.
Okay, so integrating it into daily life. But this still sounds like it could be overwhelming. People try to do all this, plus grammar study, plus shadowing, and they burn out.
That's the classic trap. Aiming too high, trying to do 2 hours of intense study every single day. It's just not sustainable for most people with busy lives. You miss one day, feel guilty, miss another, and then you just stop.
So what's the alternative? If 2 hours is too much, what's enough?
This is where the sources introduce something really powerful, almost revolutionary sounding, the power of the 5-minute rule.
5 minutes. Just 5 minutes a day. That seems tiny. How can 5 minutes possibly be powerful for learning a whole language?
It sounds counterintuitive, I know, but it works on a couple of levels. First, psychology. 5 minutes feels easy. It's not daunting. The barrier to starting is incredibly low, so you're much more likely to actually do it every day.
Removes the friction.
Totally. Second, neurology and habit formation. Remember the gym analogy. 5 minutes of targeted exercise every single day is far, far better for maintaining muscle tone and building habit than one huge 5-hour session once a month.
Right, the daily consistency keeps the pathways active.
Exactly. Even just 5 minutes of, say, doing those simple phrase warm-ups or shadowing one short paragraph or talking to yourself while you brush your teeth. It keeps the English part of your brain switched on. It prevents the gains from the previous day from fading away completely.
So the magic isn't the duration, it's the frequency, the unbroken chain.
That's it. That daily repetition, however short, tells your brain, this is important, we do this now. It builds momentum. And often, what starts as 5 minutes might naturally turn into 10 or 15 because once you've started, it's easier to keep going. But the commitment is just 5. It makes consistency achievable.
Okay, we've covered a lot of practical ground, mouth, mind, consistency. But there's one more big hurdle, isn't there? The internal one, confidence.
Oh, yeah. This is huge. So many learners hold themselves back because they're waiting. Waiting until they're perfect, waiting until their grammar is flawless, their vocabulary is huge, their accent sounds native.
That magical day that never quite arrives.
Exactly. And the research is crystal clear on this, that waiting is the enemy of progress. You don't wait to be perfect before you speak. You have to speak in order to become better. Communication has to come first.
But the fear is real, especially about accent. People worry they'll sound, I don't know, wrong or be judged.
And we need to completely reframe that. Your accent, it's part of who you are. It tells a story about where you come from. It's not something to be ashamed of or eradicated.
So the goal isn't to sound like someone from London or Chicago.
Not unless you specifically want to for personal reasons. The real goal is clear communication. Can people understand you? Can you understand them? That's what matters. When you let go of that pressure to achieve some mythical, perfect native accent and just focus on being understood, it's incredibly liberating.
Take a huge weight off.
Absolutely. And when you feel less pressure, you feel more confident just opening your mouth and trying, which leads to...
Like practice.
Right. It creates a positive feedback loop. You speak, maybe it's not perfect, but you communicated. You feel okay about it, maybe even good. That makes you more likely to speak again tomorrow. More speaking leads to more improvement, which builds more confidence, and so on.
Confidence fuels the whole engine.
It really does. It allows you to actually use all the physical and mental training we've been talking about.
Okay, let's wrap this up with what felt like the most mind-bending idea from the sources. The one that flips the script on how we think learning works.
Ah, yes. The big one. Your brain will follow your mouth.
Explain that. It sounds backwards. Don't we learn in our brain first, then speak?
That's the traditional model, isn't it? Brain absorbs knowledge, rules, words. Then eventually the mouth executes the instructions. Input first, then output.
Yeah.
But for developing fluency, the research suggests it might actually work more effectively the other way around, or at least that the output step is way more important for learning than we thought.
So speaking isn't just showing what you know. It's actually making you know it better or faster.
Precisely. Think about it. When you force yourself to speak, when you shadow, when you talk to yourself, you're putting your brain on the spot. Your mouth is moving, trying to produce English sounds and sentences.
It's demanding resources from the brain.
Urgently. The mouth is basically shouting at the brain, hey, we're doing English right now. I need the words, the grammar, the pronunciation, the right connections, and now W.
Huh? Like an emergency request.
Kind of. And the brain, under that pressure of needing to produce real-time output, adapts much faster. It has to quickly find and strengthen the connections needed to support what the mouth is already doing.
So the act of producing the language forces the brain to organize itself more efficiently for that language.
Yes. It creates a really strong link between the physical act of speaking, the sounds being made, and the meaning being conveyed. Fluency isn't born from perfectly organized knowledge sitting passively in the brain. It's forged in the act of speaking itself, as the brain scrambles and learns to keep up with the mouth's demands.
Wow, that is a powerful idea. Don't wait for your brain to be ready. Start moving your mouth and trust your brain to catch up.
That's the core message. Start speaking, and your brain's adaptation will accelerate. #tag outro. So wrapping up this deep dive, it really boils down to a different approach to fluency. It's not just books and listening, it's physical. You've got to train the mouth, use shadowing for intensity, use simple daily phrases as warm-ups, talk to yourself in your safe zone.
Right, and train the mind, consciously work on thinking directly in English, starting small with words and building up, bypassing that slow translation step to create that mental superhighway.
And underpinning it all is consistency. Make English part of your lifestyle. Create that immersion, even if it's just through your phone settings and some memes. And crucially, embrace the 5-minute rule. Small, daily actions are far more powerful than infrequent marathon sessions.
The big takeaway feels like, stop waiting. The act of speaking, even imperfectly, is maybe the most powerful learning accelerator you have. Start making noise in English.
Exactly. Let your mouth lead the way, and your brain will hustle to keep up.
And that final idea about the brain following the mouth, it makes you think, doesn't it? Like, what if you took the passive learning you already do, watching a video, listening to a podcast, and deliberately injected tiny bursts of active production?
Yeah, like pausing a video for just 30 seconds and intensely shadowing what was just said.
Yeah.
Trying to match the speed, the rhythm, the emotion.
Right. You're turning that passive reception into immediate forced output, putting that productive pressure on your brain right then and there.
It could potentially dramatically speed things up, forcing those connections to form much faster, turning every learning moment into a mini fluency workout.
Something for all of you listening to try. Find your safe English zone. Maybe start with those 5 minutes today. Put your mouth into action.
You've got this.
Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive. We'll catch you next time.